There is a specific kind of silence that only broken things know. Not the silence of an empty room. Not the silence of a sleeping city. The silence of a man who used to hear everything. The breath between musical notes. The precise, emotional weight of a chord, played a half-second too late. The color of a singer's grief hiding inside a perfectly performed smile. A man who used to hear all of that, and now hears nothing the way it truly sounds. Kang Si-won has not left this building in 22 days. His assistant, Park Dong-hyun, has been marking the days on a notepad he keeps in his jacket pocket like a hostage count. 22. The number sits between them, unspoken, every time Dong-hyun sets down a fresh glass and removes the empty one. Tonight, Dong-hyun stopped asking permission.
Si-won, the car is downstairs. The documents need a physical signature. Jae-hyun is very specific. Tonight.
Tell Jae-hyun that my hand still works. Scan and send.
Eve told him that 14 is this month.
Then tell him a 5th time. You're good at repetition.
Si-won, Eve worked for you for 6 years.
I'm aware.
In those 6 years I have rescheduled 3 world tours. I have told Kim Yinji, the woman who makes grown executives cry, that you weren't available. I once told a Grammy committee that you had food poisoning when you were, in fact, sitting exactly where you are is sitting right now, playing that exact progression in Billionaire. But I have never once asked you to do something you didn't believe you needed to do.
The noise is bad tonight. No. Everything sounds like it's coming through water. Like someone left the signal running but cut the source.
The doctor said.
I know what the doctor said.
What the doctor said was this: sensorineural hearing loss of unclear permanence. Possibly degenerative. Possibly reversible. The word possibly doing the cruelest work in the sentence. What the doctor did not say, what no one had been brave enough to say, was that Kang Si-won's entire identity had been constructed on a single foundation. Not money, not success, not the 15 awards on the shelf he no longer looks at. Sound. He was built from sound. He thought in frequencies. He loved in harmonics. He measured the worth of a moment by whether or not it would make a good bridge in the 3rd act of a song. And now the foundation had cracked, and the man standing in the rubble was not dramatic about it. He was not angry, not weeping, not raging. He was simply waiting. The way only a person who has given up on waiting still waits, out of habit, out of the terrible muscle memory of hope. The ARIA building is exactly as Si-won remembers it. Glass and ambition and the particular smell of a building that has only ever housed people who want things. The signing takes 11 minutes. Jae-hyun is not there, a fact that is either professional courtesy or a chess move. With Shin Jae-hyun, the distinction has always been academic. The documents are about licensing, about the catalog, about the slow, polite dismantling of a career being packaged and sold in pieces while the man who built it stands in the lobby and stares at the elevator doors. Dong-hyun brings the car around. Si-won waves it away.
Si-won,
Awalk.
EHS raining.
I know what rain is, Dong-hyun.
EHS 40 minutes on foot.
Good.
He walks the way people walk when they have forgotten that walking is supposed to have a destination. One foot, then the other. The rain is soft tonight. More mist than rain. The kind that doesn't decide to be weather, just exists. It settles on his shoulders, on his hair. He doesn't raise his collar. He used to walk like this at 23, when he was no one, when he had nothing but a second-hand keyboard and the absolute, terrifying certainty that sound was a language, and he had been born fluent in it. He doesn't think about those days often. When he does, it feels like reading someone else's diary. He smells the underpass before he reaches it. Rain-soaked concrete. Spray paint sealed under years of weather. The ghost of 100 street performances absorbed into the stone. He intends to walk through it. He is already reaching for his phone. Dong-hyun has sent 7 messages, which is restraint for Dong-hyun. When the sound reaches him, and Kang Si-won stops walking, he has a medical explanation for what happens next. He has filed it away in the part of his brain that needs everything to have a medical explanation. But in this moment, standing at the mouth of the underpass with rain settling in his hair and the city noise suddenly meaningless behind him, he has no words for it. Only this: something clears. Not his hearing, not exactly. Something deeper than that. Something in the architecture of how he receives sound. in the place where technical understanding and pure animal feeling used to live before the trauma burned the bridge between them. That place opens, and her voice walks through. He has a medical explanation for what happens next. He has filed it away in the part of his brain that needs everything to have a medical explanation. But in this moment, standing at the mouth of the underpass, with rain settling in his hair and the city noise suddenly meaningless behind him, he has no words for it. Only this: something clears. Not his hearing, not exactly. Something deeper than that. Something in the architecture of how he receives sound. In the place where technical understanding and pure animal feeling used to live before the trauma burned the bridge between them. That place opens, and her voice walks through.
I left the light on for a sound that never came, tuned the static to the shape of your name. If you hear somewhere on the signal, if you hear lost inside the noisy vibe and singing to the frequency of your voice.
Kang Si-won is standing at the edge of the crowd. He doesn't know when he walked in. He doesn't remember deciding to stop. He is aware, distantly, that his phone is still in his hand, and that Dong-hyun's messages have gone completely unread. He is aware that he is standing very still in a way that probably looks unusual. He doesn't move. He is doing something he has not done in 18 months. He is listening, not analyzing, not producing, not measuring interval and tempo and emotional manipulation and market viability. Just listening. And in the specific silence after her last note, in the half-second before the applause begins, Kang Si-won feels something shift behind his sternum. Small, tectonic, like a signal finding its frequency.
Thank you, really. You all just made my Friday night considerably less pathetic.
She sees him because he is the only person not moving. 20-some people flowing around the edges of the underpass like water around a stone. And he is the stone. Standing at the back, coat dark with mist, phone forgotten in his hand, staring at her with an expression she cannot name. Not the expression of a fan, not the expression of a passerby who was charmed for a moment. Something else? Something that looks almost like recognition. Shock, the specific face of a person who has heard something they were not prepared to hear. Ha-yoon has been singing on this street for 2 years. She knows every kind of listening face. She has never seen that one.
If you he going to stare like he did, at least leave something in the jar.
I'm not going to leave something in the jar.
Fantastic. Well, the show is over, so.
Sing the last part again.
Excuse me?
The last verse? From I left the light on. Sing it again.
That is not how this works.
I know how it works. I'm asking you to do it anyway.
You he asking a stranger to perform again, for free, with zero context. After already watching for free, do you hear how that sounds?
Yes, I hear how it sounds.
Then you know my answer is no.
Where did you learn that melody?
I wrote it.
You doble wrote italiano.
Is that surprising?
The bridge modulation in the final verse. The way you delay the resolution by a single beat, it shouldn't work structurally. It creates an unresolved tension that the ear keeps reaching for, even after the note ends. Most trained composers wouldn't do it. They'd resolve it properly and lose everything that makes it extraordinary.
Who are you?
Nobody.
He leaves. Ha-yoon watches the space where he was. Then she looks down at her guitar, at the tipped jar with its small collection of crumpled bills, at the set list written in her handwriting on a piece of folded paper. And something in her expression does a complicated, private thing. The kind of thing a face does when a feeling arrives that doesn't have a name yet. She doesn't know his name. She doesn't know that he stood on the corner outside the underpass for 11 minutes after walking away, facing the street, not moving, not on his phone, just standing in the night air, eyes closed, replaying a melody that had, for 18 months and for reasons he cannot explain, made the noise stop. He is thinking about a rooftop. Not this one. Not any specific one. The rooftop. The one from the architecture of his sleep. The recurring geography of a 9-year-old boy who climbed higher than was safe because he needed to believe that if he could just get close enough to the antenna, just touch the right frequency, he would hear her voice. His mother had been a singer, not famous. The kind of singer that fills a small room completely. The kind whose voice makes the people in that room feel, briefly, like the world is the exact right size. She sang on a small radio station in the province where he was born. She died on a Tuesday in March when he was 8 years old, and the radio kept broadcasting for 6 more months before the station closed. And sometimes, late at night, he would catch the echo of an old recording. He never did fix the antenna. The fall left a scar, crescent-shaped, left collarbone. He hasn't thought about the antenna in years. He doesn't know why he's thinking about it now. He doesn't let himself look back at the underpass. He starts walking. Kang Si-won walks home through the rain. And in his chest, in the place where music used to live before silence moved in and changed the locks, something is trying to remember a melody. Ha-eun has a ritual. Every Saturday morning, she comes to this cafe, the small one on the corner that hasn't renovated since 2009, and charges 801 less for an Americano than everywhere else on the block. She takes the table by the window. She orders 1 coffee, which she nurses for 2 hours. She opens her notebook. She does not write music here. She made that rule early, and she has kept it the way people keep the rules that protect something fragile, quietly, without explanation, with the specific stubbornness of someone who has learned what happens when they stop. Here, she writes words, observations. The man who walks his dog past this window every Saturday at 8:47, the dog always slightly ahead, the man always slightly surprised by this. The way the light comes through condensation on the glass and makes the sidewalk look like it's underwater. She writes the world the way she can't yet bring herself to sing it. Carefully, from a safe distance. She's halfway through a sentence about the color of rain-wet concrete when her phone rings.
Hello?
Am I speaking with you, Ha-eun SC?
Who is he asking?
This is Kim Si-won from ARIA Entertainment. I'm calling on behalf of director Shin Jae-hyun. He'd like to formally invite you to discuss a professional opportunity. Would you be available to come in this Monday?
There are names that do things to a person's nervous system. ARIA Entertainment is one of them. For Ha-eun, it arrives the way a cold front arrives. You feel it before you see it. A drop in temperature, a change in the quality of the air. 3 years ago, ARIA Entertainment signed her. 3 years ago, ARIA Entertainment called her. 12 hours before her debut showcase, 12 hours before the night she had spent 2 years building toward, and told her, in the careful language of contracts, that her services were no longer required. They kept her songs, all 3 of them, buried them in a catalog subclause, licensed them twice without her knowledge, and moved on to the next artist with the comfortable efficiency of a machine that doesn't register the difference between a person and a product. She had spent 8 months with a lawyer she couldn't properly afford trying to get those songs back. She had lost. And now ARIA is calling her on a Saturday morning in her cafe, and the word opportunity is sitting in her ear like a stone.
What kind of opportunity?
Director Shin would prefer to discuss the details in person, but I can tell you that it involves a vocal development partnership, and that there is a contract offer attached that addresses some of your previous concerns regarding creative ownership.
Which previous concerns, specifically?
The 3 original compositions registered under catalog reference HA2022. Director Shin is prepared to discuss full rights reversion.
Full rights reversion. Her songs, her words. The 3 pieces of herself she wrote at 24 when she still believed the industry was a door and not a mouth. Given back. Ha-eun stares at her notebook, at the half-finished sentence about concrete and rain. She knows what this is. She is not naive. She stopped being naive about ARIA Entertainment on a Tuesday night 3 years ago. Sitting in a parking garage in her showcase dress with her phone in her hand, and the call already ended. She knows that Shin Jae-hyun does not offer something for nothing. She knows that full rights reversion is bait, and that bait exists inside traps. She also knows that those songs are the best things she has ever written. That they are sitting in a filing cabinet in a building she is not allowed to enter, cataloged under a reference number, reduced to assets. She knows she would walk into almost any trap to get them back.
Monday, what chimney?
ARIA Private Studio B sits on the 14th floor. It is not where ARIA makes its commercial records. Those happen in the main complex on the floors above. Studio B is smaller, more intimate. The kind of room designed for conversations that require acoustic privacy. Ha-eun has been escorted here by a junior assistant who offered her water twice and made careful, friendly conversation that contained no actual information. She signed a non-disclosure agreement in the lobby. Standard, she was told. She read every line of it anyway, standing at the reception desk, while the assistant smiled patiently. The studio is empty when she enters. Equipment she recognizes: a Neve console, 2 isolation booths, a grand piano against the far wall, monitor speakers that cost more than 6 months of her rent. She stands in the center of the room and does not touch anything. She is wearing her best jacket, the one she saves for things that require armor. The man from the underpass. He is different in daylight, or in the particular artificial light of a professional studio, which reveals things that night and rain conceal. He is taller than she remembered. There are shadows under his eyes that have been there long enough to become structural. He is wearing a dark sweater that looks expensive in the way that things look expensive when the person wearing them has stopped caring about expensive things. He is holding a coffee cup. He is staring at her with an expression that is... And Ha-eun is good at reading expressions. It is a survival skill she developed early, not what she expected. Not recognition as pleasure. Not the warm, "oh, it's you" of a coincidence. Something more complicated. Something that looks almost like dread.
Jo,
You hit the producer.
you're the vocalist they assigned.
They didn't tell me a name.
They didn't tell me one either. Sit down.
I haven't agreed to anything yet.
You signed the NDA in the lobby.
That was a confidentiality agreement, not a consent to be spoken to Nike that.
Like what?
Nike am already your session. Nike the question of whether I want to be it has already been answered by someone else.
Do you want to be here?
I want my songs back.
Then we want the same thing. Sit down.
The session begins the way bad weather begins. Slowly, with a deceptive calm. Then all at once. Si-won works the way she imagines machines work. Precise, economical. Without the small performative gestures that most producers use to fill silence and make talent feel at ease. He doesn't make her feel at ease. He pulls up an audio file, a recording of her Hongdae performance from Friday night, and plays it through the monitors without preamble or explanation. She hears her own voice fill the room. It is profoundly strange, hearing yourself in a space like this. A room designed to tell the truth about sound. She says nothing. She listens to herself and watches him listen, and she tries to read what his face does. His face does almost nothing. Almost.
Your breath support collapses on the sustained notes above the staff. You're compensating with throat tension, which is why the tone thins on the high C over time. That pattern causes damage.
I've been singing since I was 7.
I know, which means the compensation is deeply habitual and will take specific work to correct.
Is that a criticism or an observation?
It's a fact.
The melody, the composition, any facts about those?
The composition is not the problem.
That's not an answer.
The composition is the most structurally interesting original work I've encountered in for years. The problem is that you're delivering it like someone who's afraid the room is going to take it away from her.
That's a very specific observation for someone who watched one street performance.
I watched it 7 times.
You recorded each.
Someone in the crowd did. It's on 3 different social platforms. I pulled the audio.
You listened to me 7 times.
I was assessing technical baseline. It's standard for first sessions.
Existe standard teu do it at to 4 in 7 in the morning.
She has found the edge of something. She doesn't know what it is yet. But Ha-eun has spent 2 years on a street corner, learning how to read a room from the outside. Learning which silences are empty and which ones are full. And she knows, with a specific instinct of someone who has had to make decisions based on very little information, that she has just touched something real. She decides, for now, to let it go. She's not ready for what's behind it yet, and neither, she suspects, is he.
So, what does this session actually look like? What are we building toward?
ARIA wants a showcase, 3 songs, 8 weeks. You perform, the platform documents the development process. It's content for their new artist discovery channel.
They filming US.
The sessions. Not this one, this is preliminary. From session 2 onward.
You wasn't told that.
I wasn't either.
The contract I signed this morning included a media clause. I read each 3 times. Each said promotional materials with artist consent per individual session. Each didn't say ongoing documentation from session 2.
No, it wouldn't.
You knew about the media clause.
I knew about a version of it.
Is there a difference?
Wait, Tere.
She stands in the empty studio and looks at the waveform on the screen. Her voice, rendered in light and mathematics. green peaks and valleys, the visual language of sound. She looks at where the voice thins on the high note. He was right. She can see it. The waveform narrowing, the amplitude dropping. The place where she holds back. She has always known she holds back. She has simply never had anyone name it so precisely before. So without malice. So purely as fact. You're delivering it like someone who's afraid the room is going to take it away from her. She has been afraid of that for 3 years. She has been afraid that the thing she loves most, the thing that lives in her chest and her throat and her hands, can be taken, has been taken, and might be taken again. She sits back down. She looks at the grand piano against the far wall, the one she hasn't touched. She reaches across the control board and, without fully deciding to, presses play. Her voice fills the room again. The last verse. I left the light on for a sound that never came. She closes her eyes. She mouths the words with herself. Just barely. A private thing.
See, well, I should have communicated the documentation scope more clearly. That's on me. I apologize.
The clause I agreed to was consultation credit, not content subject.
The platform needs a narrative, a producer's return.
Don't!
The artist is extraordinary. See, you said so yourself. Doesn't she deserve a proper platform? Isn't that what we're doing here?
Why her specifically? There are 30 vocalists on your roster who need development work. Why pull a street performer who has cause to be angry at this company? Why structure it as content? And why what? Why did no one tell either of us who the other one was going to be?
Because you would have said no. Both of you. Separately. 4 different reasons. You would have said no. See, and that would have been a waste of something remarkable. I made a judgment call. I still believe it was the right one.
Her rights, the 3 compositions. That clause is real.
Contingent on completion of the 8-week program. Fully executable in writing.
If you move the goalposts on her, if the clause shifts, if completion criteria change, if you touch her work again without consent, I will walk out of this building and I will not come back. Not for any number, not for any contract, not for anything you have or think you have on me. Are we clear?
Perfectly clear.
The documentation clause applies from session to with individual session consent per recording. You can decline any specific session without penalty or impact on the rights clause. I've confirmed that in writing.
You confirmed, Ichi.
The breath support issue, I want to try a different approach to the bridge. Can you stand up?
Why did you do that?
Do what? Confirm it. Go out there and, whatever you just did. You didn't have to. The composition is extraordinary. That's not flattery, it's assessment. Work like that deserves to exist on its own terms, under the right name. Not in a catalog subclause.
You know about the catalog clause.
I know how this company files things. Yes.
Silence. A different kind of silence than any that has come before in this room. Not tension. Something gentler at the edges. Something that would be warmth if either of them were ready for that.
De bridge, what approach?
Hands at your sides. Don't hold anything. No microphone, no posture performance. Just stand.
Now,
Breathe out. Completely. Then start the bridge from if you're somewhere on the signal.
if you hear somewhere on the signal, if you hear lost inside the noisy.
Drop your shoulders. Don't reach for it. Let the note come down to you.
If you been singing to the frequency of your voice.
He is hearing it again. The thing that happened in the underpass, the clearing, the impossible moment when the distortion retreated and something clean came through. It is happening again. Not completely. It is never complete. But in the room, in the specific acoustic space between her voice and his ears, something in the frequency aligns. He is aware of this, the way you are aware of a wound healing. Not with joy, not yet, because you don't trust it yet. You touch it carefully. You don't press. He doesn't press. He makes a note on the pad beside the console. 3 words. He covers it with his hand before she can read it. She doesn't ask.
Better?
Structurally, yes. The resonance chamber is engaged properly. We'll build from there.
That's a very complicated way to say yes.
The second song. Walk me through the structure.
They work for 2 hours. Neither of them mentions the underpass. Neither of them mentions Shin Jae-hyun or rights clauses or what was and wasn't disclosed in the lobby. Neither of them mentions that somewhere on the control board there is a small green indicator light that neither of them is looking at. But that is on. Recording, sending. Somewhere, Ha-Yoon sings. Si-won listens. And in the space between them, in the air that carries sound from one person to another, something is beginning. Not yet a melody, not yet a story, a frequency, finding its match.
Did they?
Cooling system.
Building intercom. Attention! Due to a thermal regulation failure on floors 12 through 15, climate systems are temporarily offline. Estimated restoration time is 90 minutes. We apologize for the inconvenience. Non-essential personnel are encouraged to relocate to the lobby level, where cooling is maintained. Thank you for your patience.
90 minutes.
The session files are backed up. We can continue Thursday.
Right.
They've locked the elevator sequence to the ground floor during the thermal event. Standard protocol.
The stairs.
14 floors.
This heat.
There's a rooftop lounge on 15. It has independent ventilation, external air intake. It will be cooler than staying here and warmer than the stairwell.
A rooftop. He's suggesting a rooftop.
One floor up. 15, not the top.
Is to a rooftop.
The Seoul skyline at early evening is a specific kind of beauty. The kind that doesn't ask for your attention and gets it anyway. The Han River, a silver line in the distance. Glass towers catching the last of the afternoon light and turning it into something architectural. The sky above it all, not quite blue, not quite gold. The color of an hour that hasn't decided what it wants to be. Ha-Yoon sets her bag down on a low bench near the railing. She has been inside buildings like this one many times, as a signed artist, as a ghost, as someone being processed. And she has learned to find the edge of them. The place where the building ends and the actual world begins. She finds it here, at the railing, with the wind coming off the west. Si-won stays further back, near the covered section, near the door. The way people stay near exits when they haven't decided yet whether they're staying.
I forgot how high up we were.
14 floors isn't particularly.
14 floors isn't it particularly.
You were chunts. I'd come out, and the light would be completely different, day to night or night to day, and I'd be surprised every time. Like I kept expecting the world to pause, while I was inside.
Did it bother you when it did?
No, it felt right. Like the work was the real thing and everything outside was just continuity, background.
Now.
Now, the background is the only thing I can hear clearly.
She doesn't ask him to explain that. She has the instinct, rare and specific, of knowing when a sentence has said everything it intended to, and when pressing it would only cause it to close. She turns back to the railing. She removes her jacket. The heat warrants it. It's a practical decision. She folds the jacket over the railing beside her and reaches into her bag for her water bottle, and the city moves beneath her in its indifferent evening way. And she is not thinking about the scar. She never thinks about the scar. It has been there her entire life, crescent-shaped on the left side of her collarbone, present in every mirror and every open-necked shirt and every summer. And she has made the peace with it that you make with things that were there before memory. Not acceptance exactly. More like familiarity. Like a piece of furniture that has always been in the room. She is not thinking about it. And then she hears him stop breathing.
You doing it again.
What?
Staring. You did eating the underpass. You doing it now. I don't know what you're.
Your scar. The scar on your collarbone. Left side.
I'm aware of where my scar is.
How did you get it?
I don't remember. If we had it since I was a child, why are you? I don't know what your scar. This scar, on your collarbone, left side. I'm aware of where my scar is. How did you get it? I don't remember. If we had it since I was a child, why are you?
She looks at it for a long time. The shape, the placement, the specific curved line of it, not just similar, not coincidentally alike the way scars can be. Identical. The same angle, the same length, the same faint silver quality of old, healed skin that has been there so long it has become part of the architecture of a person. Her hand moves, without her consciously deciding, to her own collarbone. Fingertips resting on the scar the way you touch something to verify it's real. They stand on the rooftop of a building neither of them chose to be in the gold-going gray light of a Seoul evening. and they look at each other's skin, and neither of them speaks. And the wind moves between them like a third presence. And the city carries on below in its magnificent, indifferent way. Ha-Yun's medical understanding of this moment is coincidence. Rare, striking coincidence. Scars like this are not impossible. A common type of childhood injury, a common place for it to land. But there is something beneath her medical understanding. Something older. Something that lives in the body below the level of reasoning, in the place where the body keeps the things the mind hasn't processed yet. That something is pulling toward him like a compass finding north. And she is frightened of it, in the specific private way that she is frightened of things that feel true.
How did you get ears?
I was 9 years old. There was a rooftop, not like this one. An old building, for stories, in the province where I grew up. There was a radio antenna on the roof, old, broken. The kind that received analog signal. My mother was a singer. She had it wasn't famous. A small radio program. Local station, maybe 300 listeners on a good day. She would sing one song at the end of each broadcast, original songs. It own. She died when I was 8, March, a Tuesday.
I'm sorry.
The station kept broadcasting for 6 months after playing the archive. And Someti miss late night, when there's right, catch one of her recordings. On the right frequency, it was inconsistent. Some nights nothing. Some nights, for a few seconds, just her voice. The antenna on the building across from ours received the signal better. I'd worked it out, the angle, the height. If I could get to it. If I could just fix the connection.
You climbed up.
Primera climbed up, and the edge, the ledge near the antenna housing was narrower than it looked from below, and I fell. Not far enough too. I caught a pipe on the way down. But the edge of the housing, it caught me here. I never heard her voice that night. The antenna was already broken when I reached it. There was no signal. There was nothing to fix.
Ha-Yun is looking at him. She has heard a lot of stories in her life. In the particular way that people who are good at being still hear stories. Because stillness invites confession. And she has always been capable of a quality of attention that makes people say things they didn't plan to say. But she has never heard a story that landed in her body the way this one is landing. Not in her mind, not in her sympathy. In her body. In her bones. In the place beneath the scar on her left collarbone that she has never been able to explain. She has a story about a rooftop, too. She has always had it. But it has no details, only the shape of it, stored in the place where childhood stores the things it doesn't understand yet. A height, a sound, something going wrong. Her grandmother would change the subject. Every time. Ha-Yun opens her mouth. She is going to tell him. She has never told anyone, not because she was ashamed of it. Because she didn't have the words for something she didn't fully remember. But standing here, in the particular honesty of this gold-going gray light, with his story still in the air between them, she feels the words forming. Imprecise, incomplete, true. She opens her mouth.
I don't know this number. Who is this? How do you have this number? What do you mean you knew my grandmother? When did she tell you to call me?
Si-won watches her face change. He has learned, in 2 hours of working with her, to read her face, not completely. She doesn't allow complete, but enough. He has learned that she processes inward before she responds outward. That her stillness is not blankness. It is intensity, directed somewhere he cannot follow. He has learned that when something moves her, it moves her all the way through, like a note played in a resonant room. Right now, something has moved her. The blood has left the area just below her cheekbones. She's holding the phone with both hands, the way people hold things when they need something solid. Her eyes are moving, not across a physical landscape, but across an interior one, following something, trying to keep up with something. He wants to ask. He doesn't ask. Because he was asked once, after the accident, after his mother, how he was feeling. By well-meaning people, by a school counselor, by an uncle who didn't know what else to offer. And the asking, always, made the thing retreat, made him fold it away faster than he meant to, out of the instinct to perform recovery for whoever needed to see it. He stays very still. He gives her the thing he needed then and didn't get. space.
My grandmother died 4 months ago.
I'm sorry.
She raised me, after my parents. She was the person who she never talked about my parents. Not really. I knew the basic shape of each an accident when I was very young, before I could retain the memory. She raised me from age 2. She was not a woman who looked backward. She looked at what was in front of her and she moved toward it. I respected that about her. I tried to be like her.
Décolle.
Someone who says they knew her, says she asked them before she died to contact me. When did she was right? They said there were things about my childhood she didn't tell me, things about where I came from, and that some of those things, some of them matter. They said some of those things involve a family in Chungcheong Province.
Kang Si-won was born in Chungcheong Province. He has not said this to her. There is no reason he would have said this to her. It is simply a fact, geographical, biographical, unremarkable on its own. But it is not in this moment on its own. It is in a room with a crescent scar, and a broken antenna, and a mother who sang on the radio, and a grandmother who looked forward and never back, and a phone call timed like a plot point in a story that has been running. It is suddenly beginning to feel far longer than either of them has been aware of. Si-won is looking at her. His face, which she has watched all afternoon, move between precision and distance and the occasional unguarded second, has gone completely still. Not the professional stillness, not the controlled stillness of a man managing his own interior. The stillness of a man standing at the edge of something, looking down, not yet knowing if it's a fall or a beginning.
What?
Where? In Chungcheong Province?
They didn't say. Why?
Nothing. It's nothing. Tell me what else they said.
That's all they said. The call ended. Si-won, my scar. I told you I don't remember how I got it. That's true. But if we always had the feeling that the not remembering isn't the it's not that I forgot. It's that the memory is stored somewhere I don't have access to. Like a feeling that exists but one therapy. Like a frequency I can take each what is happening. I have to go.
What is it?
Nothing. Something I need to deal with. Personal.
Tal.
The person who called me, they sent a message just now. An address. Iachimi.
When?
Tomorrow morning. What you told me about the antenna, your mother. Evie never heard anyone describe something I felt but cogiging to say, until now.
He stands where she left him. The city moves below. The lights are beginning. That soul dusk ritual of the city converting itself from a daytime thing to a nighttime one. The glass towers taking the fading light and turning it into something electrical. The Han River losing its silver and finding its dark mirror quality. He is thinking about Chungcheong Province. He is thinking about a crescent scar. He is thinking about a grandmother who never looked backward. He is thinking about a mother who sang on the radio and a broken antenna and the specific animal certainty that the signal was there. That the signal was always there. That the fault was never in the broadcast, but in the receiver. He is thinking about the waveform on the studio screen. The place where Ha-yoon's voice thinned on the high note. The place where she held back. You're delivering it like someone who's afraid the room is going to take it away from her. He thinks about what it would mean. He does not let himself think about it directly. Not yet. Not with any specificity. Not by name. He approaches it the way he approaches a new composition. Sideways. Obliquely. Getting close enough to feel its shape without touching it. Because touching it before you're ready makes the whole thing collapse. He thinks about his mother's voice on a frequency he could never quite hold. He thinks about the underpass and the clearing, and a voice that cut through the noise for the first time in 18 months. He thinks, what if the signal was never lost? What if it just changed frequency?
Iyama.
There is a specific sound that a room makes when real work is happening inside it. Not productive work, not efficient work, not the organized, scheduled, contractually obligated work of a professional honoring a deadline. Real work. The kind that doesn't ask permission. The kind that arrives without announcement at 11:23 on a Monday night and simply begins, while the person it arrives in is still in their coat, still holding their keys, still standing in the doorway of a studio they haven't truly inhabited in 18 months. Kang Si-won dropped his keys on the floor somewhere near the door. He doesn't know exactly when. He doesn't remember crossing the room. He remembers the rooftop, the city, the wind, the sound that may or may not have been his mother's voice. And then he remembers sitting at the piano. Everything between is the gap that music makes when it decides it's ready. He is composing, not sketching, not experimenting, not the careful clinical assessment of a producer evaluating someone else's work. Composing, his own, from the place inside himself that he had. Somewhere in the 18 months of noise and silence and whiskey and 22 days without leaving the building, quietly stopped believing still existed. It exists. It is playing in B minor with a modulation in the bridge that shouldn't work structurally. That creates an unresolved tension the ear keeps reaching for even after the note ends. And he knows, without examining why, where he learned that.
No, down a third. Fronte.
He doesn't notice the light. It is small, a single LED indicator on the far wall panel, set into the equipment rack behind the secondary monitoring station. Red, the size of a fingernail. In the normal working life of this studio, it would be invisible, absorbed into the landscape of lights and indicators and standby signals that a professional space accumulates like a language. But the studio has been dark for 18 months. The equipment has been dormant. The indicators have been uniformly unlit. The panels dead. The room a museum of a career preserved in expensive hardware that no longer has anything to do. The red light is new. Si-won does not see it. He is at the piano with his back to the wall panel, with manuscript paper spreading across the bench beside him, with his coat still on and his mind entirely inside the music. Inside the particular total immersion state that had, before the trauma, been his most natural habitat and had, after it, become inaccessible with the specific cruelty of losing a language you grew up speaking. He is home inside the music. He doesn't see the light. Shin Jae-hyun has a gift that he has never named, because naming gifts makes them self-conscious and therefore smaller. But if pressed, if someone placed a word in front of him and asked him to confirm or deny, the word would be patience. Not the patience of a passive man. The patience of a man who understands that the most important variable in any situation is time. That people, given enough time, always reveal the thing they're trying to conceal. That situations, given enough time, always arrive at the shape they were always going to arrive at. He has been patient with Si-won for 18 months. He has been patient in the particular way that a man is patient with something valuable that has been temporarily damaged. Not because he loves the thing, but because he understands its worth. Si-won's name on a production credit is worth more than any single album. Si-won's return to the industry is worth more than any contract Jae-hyun currently holds. He has been patient. And tonight, listening to the piano through the monitor feed, watching the audio levels move on the screen in front of him, watching Kang Si-won compose for the first time in 18 months, Shin Jae-hyun's patience is resolving into something else. Satisfaction. Clean and cold as a blade, newly sharpened.
There you are. The girl. She has it too. The scar. Yes. Identical placement. I've confirmed it from the footage. I'm aware of what that means. No, not yet. He's composing again, for the first time. If I move now, I lose that. I lose both of them. And that is a very specific kind of waste I'm not willing to accept. She goes to the address tomorrow morning. Let that happen. Let her find what's there. The discovery needs to feel natural. If she suspects it was arranged, she'll run. And a girl who has already run from this company once is considerably harder to catch the second time. And Si-won? He doesn't know. Not yet. Keep it that way until I decide otherwise. Are we clear?
Shin Jae-hyun listens to the music of a man who doesn't know he's being listened to. He has a thought, brief, and he dismisses it quickly the way he dismisses most things that don't serve the current objective. About what it means to watch something private. Something that is, by its nature, only supposed to exist between a person and the room they trust enough to be themselves in. He dismisses the thought. He turns back to his desk, to the two screens, to the paused frame of the girl in the underpass, her scar caught in the grainy light of a camera that was not installed for this purpose, but has served it beautifully. He picks up a pen, pulls a legal pad toward him, begins to write, not notes, not plans, names, a small list of names, connected by lines he draws between them with the deliberate precision of someone completing a diagram that has been in progress for a very long time. At the top of the list, two names. connected by a line, with a date beside the line that is not this year, not last year. A date from 24 years ago. He doesn't notice when it happens. One moment he is playing the new composition, his own, the one that arrived tonight without announcement. And then, without a decision, without a segue, without anything he could identify as a transition, he is playing something else. The melody from the underpass. Ha-yoon's melody. I left the light on for a sound that never came. He is not playing it exactly as she sang it. He is playing it the way a mind plays something it has absorbed completely. Reshaped, filtered, run through the particular emotional architecture of a different person's interior. The notes are hers. The feeling is something that is becoming, slowly, collaborative. He stops, sits in the silence, realizes what he's been playing.
What he say?
He opens the audio file. Her voice, loaded from the street recording. The one he pulled at 2:47 in the morning, 3 days ago, from a platform he had to create an account to access. He has not opened it since Monday afternoon in the studio. He told himself, getting into the car on the way home, that he was done with it for the day. He opens it, he puts on his headphones, and this is where it matters. Where the specific medical reality of Kang Si-won's condition matters most, in the most intimate way. Because the headphones don't give him what they give everyone else. They give him the distorted version, the underwater version, the version that arrives warped and wrong and incomplete, that makes him feel like a translator who has lost access to the original language. Except, he presses play, and for the third time, the underpass, the studio, and now here, now at 11:47 at night in his own home. Something in the frequency of her voice does the impossible thing. It clears. Partial, imperfect, not the full clarity of a healthy auditory system. He knows what that sounds like. He carries the memory of it in his body, the way amputees carry the memory of a limb. This isn't that. But it is more than he has had in 18 months, more than he had believed quietly in the part of himself that had stopped believing he would ever have again. He listens to it 3 times. On the 3rd time, he opens a new session file on the production software. He has not opened a new session file in 18 months. The interface looks exactly as he left it, the same template, the same default settings, the institutional memory of software that doesn't know time has passed. He labels the session. He stares at what he's written for a moment. Then he leaves it. It's accurate. It's the most accurate thing he could write. He loads her vocal track into the session. He begins to work. He watches the faders move. The specific pattern of a producer working, the way the faders move, the way tracks are layered, is as individual as a signature. Jae-hyun has known Si-won's signature for 12 years. He would know it in any room, in any context. He is watching it now, live, in real time, for the first time in 18 months. He picks up his pen again, adds something to the list on the legal pad. A note beside Si-won's name, a single word, underlined. Ready? He circles it. The second feed is Ha-yoon's apartment. She's not home yet. The room sits empty, broadcasting its silence, the particular silence of a space that has been lived in carefully, that contains exactly what is needed and nothing performative, that belongs to a person who has learned to take up precisely the right amount of space and no more. Jae-hyun is not listening to this feed. He is watching it. The camera, small, integrated into a device she would not recognize as a camera, delivered as a gift from the label 3 days ago as a welcome back to the ARIA family gesture. Accepted because the card had Jae-hyun's signature, and she was holding it with both hands, like evidence. Watches the empty room. Jae-hyun glances at the timestamp on the CCTV archive on his 3rd screen. He finds the frame he marked earlier, 18 months ago. The underpass. Hongdae. A night in autumn. Ha-yoon. Performing. The crowd. The ambient footage from a city surveillance camera positioned at the street entrance to the underpass. He had known she sang there. He had pulled the archive when his team flagged her current activity. The social platform videos, the growing audience, the voice that was becoming, despite everything he'd done to contain it, impossible to ignore. He had pulled the archive out of due diligence, out of the habit of knowing everything. He had not expected to find what he found. He zooms the archive frame to the edge of the crowd. A man, standing at the back, coat dark, phone forgotten in his hand, Kang Si-won, at the underpass, 18 months ago. The same night as the acoustic trauma. The incident report had specified location, a studio session in Hongdae. The timeline placed Si-won in that neighborhood from 8 p.m. until the incident at 11:47. The CCTV timestamp on the underpass footage, 11:03 p.m. Si-won had been there, in the crowd, listening to her. 44 minutes before the event that destroyed his hearing. Jae-hyun has looked at this frame many times in the past 48 hours. He has looked at it with the specific architectural attention of a man who builds things, who looks at raw material and sees the structure that can be made from it. He is looking at it now. Jae-hyun puts on his headphones. He watches her move through her apartment with the expression of a man watching a clock. Patient, certain, knowing that clocks do not need to be watched to keep moving, but watching anyway, because he is a man who does not outsource his attention. Ha-yoon sits at her small kitchen table. She places her phone face up in front of her. She looks at the message, the address, the time. She does not type anything. She sits with it the way people sit with decisions they have already made but haven't yet acknowledged making. She reaches across the table and opens a notebook. Not the one from the cafe, a different one, smaller, older, the cover worn soft from handling. She finds a page near the back. She reads what's written there. Jae-hyun cannot see what the page says from this angle. He makes a note. Access notebook contents. He underlines it once.
What did you know, Aomani? What did you know?
He stands at the window for a long time. This is the part of Shin Jae-hyun that no one in a meeting room has ever seen. The part that exists after the building empties. When the architecture of composed authority he wears during the day can be set aside the way you set aside a good coat. Not because what's underneath it is vulnerable. Not because he doubts himself or the arrangement he is constructing with such methodical care, but because even a man who has decided long ago that people are instruments requires some private time to acknowledge the weight of what he plays them for. He has known about the connection for longer than either of them would believe. 24 years is a long time to hold a piece of information, to wait for the right circumstance to make it useful, to watch two people grow up on separate sides of a truth he holds the center of, and to know, with the patience that is his most dangerous gift, that the moment to act is not when you discover the thing, but when the thing has become too valuable not to use. Si-won composing again. Ha-yoon walking into a meeting tomorrow that has been arranged to feel like fate. The moment Jae-hyun has decided is now.
The address I sent her. Make sure the person who answers the door is prepared. And make sure what they show her is the photograph. Not the documents first, the photograph. She needs to feel it before she understands it. Because understanding can be argued with. Feeling can't. Yes. I'll be there by 10. There are no coincidences in music, only compositions. We haven't heard yet.
He doesn't know that the monitoring system is active. He will not check the wall panel tonight. He has no reason to. The red light continues its small, patient broadcast in the dark behind him, indifferent to everything it witnesses, asking nothing, missing nothing. He doesn't know that Jae-hyun has been listening. He doesn't know about the apartment camera. He doesn't know about the CCTV archive, or the folded page in the interior pocket, or the phone call being made right now from a car moving through the midnight city toward a destination he hasn't been told exists. He doesn't know any of this. He knows only the music. Her voice in the monitors, the session file building in front of him, track by track, the architecture of something new rising from the rubble of the last 18 months the way structures sometimes do, unexpectedly and all at once, and because of one specific, impossible thing that arrived and refused to be ignored. He works until 3 a.m. He does not hear the studio monitoring system. He does not see the red light. But at some point, he could not say exactly when, could not mark the moment on a clock. He stops playing and stops composing, and simply sits in the sound of her looping voice, with his headphones on and his eyes closed. And he does the thing he did in the underpass. He listens, just listens. And in the particular specific silence between one loop ending and the next beginning, in that gap of less than a second, That breath the software takes before playing again, he opens his eyes. He looks at the session screen. Ha Yoon's vocal track. The waveform, green peaks and valleys, the visual language of a voice rendered in light and mathematics. He looks at the timestamp on the file. His eyes stop. The street recording, the one pulled from the social platform. He had noted the platform timestamp when he downloaded it, but had not, until now, looked at the embedded metadata. The original file data, the date and time the recording was made by whoever in the crowd pointed their phone at her. He looks at it now. 18 months ago. The same date as the acoustic trauma. The same night. 44 minutes before the incident. His hands go still over the keyboard. He was in Hongdae that night. He remembers this. The session had been at a studio on the north side of the district, a late booking, a favor for an artist he owes. He remembers leaving early. Something had felt wrong. The session had felt wrong. He had not been able to articulate why and had filed it under instinct and left. He had walked through the underpass on his way to the car. He had been in that crowd. He had heard her. 18 months ago, before the trauma, before the silence, before the 22 days without leaving the building. He had stood in the crowd and heard her voice. And then, 44 minutes later, in a different street, he had lost his hearing in the way that redefines before and after. And he has spent 18 months trying to find his way back. And she was there. At the beginning of the before, she was there.